The fog hung thick and heavy over the frigid waters of the North Atlantic, cloaking the sea in an eerie silence. Suddenly, a deafening roar shattered the stillness as two warships emerged from the haze, hurtling towards each other with deadly intent. The sound of metal grinding against metal filled the air as the ships collided with a force that shook the very foundations of the vessels. The impact was brutal, sending shards of wood and steel flying in every direction. The crews of both ships were thrown off balance, struggling to regain their footing as chaos engulfed them. In the aftermath of the collision, the two ships were left mangled and broken, their fate sealed by the violence of war. Today, I will introduce to you the HMS Glowworm, a heroic destroyer from the Second World War, and her captain, Lieutenant Commander Gerard Roope. HMS Glowworm was a G-class destroyer of the British Royal Navy, which served during the Second World War. The ship and her crew gained notoriety for their heroic actions during the early months of the war, particularly during the Norwegian campaign of 1940. The Glowworm's captain, Lieutenant Commander Gerard Roope, was widely praised for his leadership and bravery during this period. The HMS Glowworm was launched on the 22nd of September 1934 and commissioned on the 22nd of January 1935. The ship was built by John Brown and Company of Clydebank, Scotland, as part of a large-scale program to modernize the Royal Navy. The G-class destroyers were designed to be fast and versatile, with a top speed of over 36 knots and a range of 5,530 nautical miles at 15 knots. The Glowworm was armed with four 4.7-inch guns, torpedo tubes, and depth charges. In the years leading up to the outbreak of the Second World War, the Glowworm served in the Mediterranean and the Atlantic, carrying out patrols and escorting convoys. In August 1939, she was transferred to the Home Fleet. Based at Scapa Flow in the Orkney Islands, the ship was commanded by Lieutenant Commander Gerard Roope, a 34-year-old officer from Devon who had just joined the Royal Navy in 1927. Roope was an experienced and highly regarded officer, known for his sharp mind, strategic thinking, and physical fitness. He was also a skilled sailor and navigator, having served on a variety of ships and stations throughout his career. Roope was a strict disciplinarian. He was also respected and liked by his crew, who appreciated his fairness and sense of humor. In early 1940, the Glowworm was assigned to the Norwegian campaign, a joint British-French operation to occupy Norway and prevent the Germans from doing the same. The Glowworm, along with several other British destroyers, was tasked with escorting a convoy of British troops and supplies to Narvik, a strategic point in northern Norway. On the 8th of April, 1940, the Glowworm and her escorting destroyers encountered a German task force, consisting of the heavy cruiser Admiral Hipper and several destroyers. On their way to attack the British convoy, the Glowworm, under Roope's command, engaged the German ships in a fierce battle, firing torpedoes and shells at the enemy. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, the Glowworm managed to score a hit on the Admiral Hipper, causing damage to the cruiser's steering mechanism. The Glowworm also damaged one of the German destroyers, the Z-11 Bernd von Arnim. However, the Glowworm was hit by enemy shells, causing serious damage to her bridge and killing several crew members, including the captain of her main turret. Roope ordered the Glowworm to ram the Admiral Hipper, hoping to disable the enemy cruiser and buy time for the British convoy to escape. The Glowworm, badly damaged and on fire, collided with the Admiral Hipper, causing more damage to both ships. The Glowworm then opened fire one last time and scored a hit at point-blank range, further damaging the enemy ship. The Glowworm then dislodged from the Admiral Hipper, drifting for a bit before breaking in two and sinking, taking most of her crew with her. Roope was praised for his heroism and leadership during the battle, and was awarded the Victoria Cross, the highest award for gallantry in the face of the enemy, posthumously. A somewhat notable piece of trivia I would like to add is that Helmuth Hay, commander of the Admiral Hipper, was so impressed by Roope's actions that he wrote a letter to the British authorities recommending him for an award. As you can probably guess, a commander contacting an enemy nation just to congratulate a foe after defeating him is quite rare. The action of the Glowworm and her crew during the Battle of the Norwegian Sea became a symbol of British resistance and courage during the early months of the war. The story of the Glowworm was widely publicized in the British press, and Roope became a household name. The Daily Telegraph hailed the captain as one of the most gallant figures of the war, while the Times called him a, quote, great leader of men. Roope's Victoria Cross citation, published in the London Gazette on the 23rd of July 1940, reads, quote, for great valor in action with enemy forces on the morning of the 8th of April 1940, Lieutenant Commander Roope, while in command of HMS Glowworm, engaged the enemy consisting of Admiral Hipper, a heavy cruiser, and 5 destroyers, in order to cover the withdrawal of a number of merchant vessels. In the ensuing action, the Glowworm was hit and badly damaged, but Lieutenant Commander Roope continued to fight his ship, engaging the Admiral Hipper with torpedoes and guns and finally ramming her. The Glowworm then broke in two and sank. The gallantry displayed by Lieutenant Commander Roope on this occasion was of the highest order. Roope's Victoria Cross was the first to be awarded to a naval officer since the First World War. He was also posthumously mentioned in dispatches for his actions during the Norwegian campaign. The Glowworm's crew also received praise for their bravery during the battle. Several sailors were awarded medals for their actions, including the Distinguished Service Order, Distinguished Service Cross, and Conspicuous Gallantry Medal. Many others were commended for their courage and devotion to duty. The sinking of the Glowworm and the loss of so many of her crew was a heavy blow to the Royal Navy, but the actions of Roope and his men were a source of inspiration to the British people. The story of the Glowworm and her captain became part of the mythology of the Second World War, and was celebrated in books, films, and popular songs. In 1941, the Admiralty announced that a new destroyer would be named HMS Roope in honor of the Glowworm's captain. The ship was launched in 1942 and served in the Mediterranean and the Pacific during the war. She was decommissioned in 1969. Today, the story of the Glowworm and her captain remains an important part of British naval history. The ship and her crew are remembered as symbols of courage, dedication, and sacrifice in the face of overwhelming odds. Roope's Victoria Cross is on display at the National Museum of the Royal Navy in Portsmouth, where it serves as a reminder of the bravery of the men and women who served in the Royal Navy during the Second World War. In addition to the new destroyer named after him, Captain Roope was also remembered in other ways. A memorial plaque was erected in his honor at St. Paul's Cathedral in London, and a street in his hometown of Bradford was named after him. The legacy of Captain Roope and the crew of HMS Glowworm also lives on in the stories and memories of their families and descendants. Many of the sailors who served on the ship had wives, children, and parents who were left behind when the ship went down. Their grief and loss were shared by families across the country who had loved ones serving in the armed forces. For some, the memory of the Glowworm and its captain has been a source of pride and inspiration. In 2007, the granddaughter of one of the sailors who survived the sinking of the ship wrote a play about the battle and the heroism of Roope and his crew. The play was performed in London and received positive reviews. In recent years, interest in the story of the Glowworm and its captain have been revived by historians and researchers. New information has come to light about the battle and the events leading up to it, and there have been efforts to better understand the context and significance of the engagement. One of the most interesting aspects of the story is the fact that Captain Roope disobeyed orders in order to engage the German ships. The official instruction from the British Admiralty was for the Glowworm to withdraw and avoid contact with the enemy. Roope's decision to attack was a bold and risky move, but it also demonstrated his determination and commitment to his duty as a naval officer. Some historians have questioned whether Roope's actions were justified, given the high risk to his crew and the fact that the Glowworm was badly outmatched by the German vessels. Others argue that his decision to engage the enemy was a necessary sacrifice in order to protect the merchant ships under his escort and prevent them from falling into German hands. Whatever the merits of his decision, there is no doubt that Captain Roope and the crew of the HMS Glowworm showed extraordinary courage and determination in the face of overwhelming odds. Their actions have inspired generations of British sailors and citizens, and their memory will continue to be honored and celebrated for years to come. What do you think of the HMS Glowworm and her captain? Was it a valiant act to cover the escaping Allied vessels, or was it an unnecessary loss that was just bad judgment by Captain Roope? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, maybe check out some of my others. And maybe consider subscribing to my humble little channel. And I wish you a great rest of your day. See you later.